Hi, I'm Brett Swartz, founder of Capital Gains Tax Solutions. In this video, we're going to talk about traditional installment sales and how they differ from a deferred sales trust. So in a traditional installment sale, the seller extends some or all of the financing to the buyer in exchange for the asset and a specified rate of return and certain rights in case the buyer defaults, such as taking the asset back or foreclosure. A traditional installment sale under Section 453 is commonly engaged in by a seller who needs to incentivize a buyer who otherwise maybe doesn't qualify for private financing or bank financing. This type of sale spreads out the capital gains tax over a period of time, which maintains non-constructive receipt and allows the seller to slowly pay taxes as they receive payments. Taxes are not paid unless and if the seller receives principal payments on the note. If the payments are in interest, that would be considered ordinary income. If they're in principal, that would be considered capital gains tax. The effect of all of this is spreading out the capital gains tax over a period of time, which leads into our first challenge that traditional installment sales offer, which is this: the prepayment risk. Traditional installment sales generally by nature short term, meaning the buyer is probably going to owe something for maybe a 3 to 5 year period. And at the end of that 3 to 5 years, they're going to have a balloon payment. And that balloon payment is going to put the seller in the same situation he was 5 years ago. And he's going to have to pay all the capital gains tax. So the intent is to have long-term tax deferral, so you can build and create more wealth by not having to pay the tax. But the challenge is most traditional installment sales are short in nature. That being said, you could have it go for 10, 15, 20 years, and the seller might be willing to do that if you can negotiate that as the buyer. But most sellers want to be cashed out at a certain point. However, there are a few significant shortcomings in Section 453 as a traditional installment sale. The first one is the investments are neither diversified nor investment grade. In other words, if you're carrying back paper for your business or your real estate, it's a single asset and it's typically not investment grade. What's investment grade? Well, investment grade can be large companies, right? It could be fixed instruments, it could be government bonds, something that is much bigger than just a single asset in a single location. Second thing is diversification. You're not diversified if all of your collateral is tied to one single asset in one single location. This can increase the risk, and also the challenge is if the buyer defaults or runs the property into the ground or decreases its value by not running the business properly. So as a seller, if you're doing traditional installment sale, you're taking on more risk because the collateral, the asset that you sold and carried back paper on, is neither diversified nor is it investment grade, which leads us into our second significant shortcoming of a traditional installment sale, which is the prepayment risk. So most traditional installment sales are short in nature, meaning they're a 3 to 5 year period of time. The idea to create and preserve more wealth is to use time value of money, meaning if I can defer tax for a longer period of time, I can allow the rule of 72 to kick in, which states if I can earn 7% on any given amount over a 10-year period of time, I can double that amount. Well, most traditional installment sales maybe are 3 to 5 years, which at the end of that 5-year period, let's just say, the balloon payment's due and the tax is now triggered because the seller receives the payment in full. So the intent is to try to extend that time, and that's where most folks find the Deferred Sales Trust to be a perfect solution, because the notes can go for the first 10 years and then you can renew for 10, another 10, and go for as long as you want. And that enables you to keep that principal intact and just live off the interest, pay ordinary income tax on that, but essentially you can go for as long as you want. Also, it can pass on to your kids as well. So let's circle this back with the Deferred Sales Trust and clarify why you would want a Deferred Sales Trust over an installment sale. And the key questions to ask are, why would a Deferred Sales Trust installment sale be better than a traditional installment sale? Well, the first one has to do with collateral. So in a traditional installment sale, remember, you're just carrying paper and the only collateral you have is that asset that you sold. And so the goal would be to get diversification and to get some liquidity, and also to get investment grade securities and or other real estate deals. And that's the beauty of the Deferred Sales Trust. You could sell, let's say you had a $3 million asset, you could sell and all that $3 million can go into the trust, and now you could spread that out against 10 different investments in 10 different locations, right? In 10 different product types. And that's going to diversify the collateral. So if just one of those fails, you have 9 others that can continue to pay you on your note. So that's the first reason you can get diversification. Also, you can get a brand new depreciation schedule when you go to buy investment real estate, which is one of the #1 reasons to use the Deferred Sales Trust, to buy real estate at your own timing, and also with a brand new depreciation schedule. So the next thing for the Deferred Sales Trust that we think is superior for the traditional installment sale is just the length of time. Okay, so just to reiterate, you can go for as long as you want on the Deferred Sales Trust. I'll touch that on the video. So, but essentially, if you can go for 5 years, why not go for 10, right? If you can go for 10, why not go for 20, 40, 60 and pass it on to your kids and maintain this wealth in your family? And the last one would be just the prepayment risk. In a traditional installment sale, lots of the terms, the buyer can pay you back at any time. And in the Deferred Sales Trust, they can be set up as interest-only payments, and at the end of the 10 years, there's a balloon payment due. However, you can refinance it essentially at any point, but typically our clients refinance at 9 years, 6 months, and then renew for another 10 years. Think of it like a refinance event. So you're just deferring again for another 10 years, and you can keep doing that. So those are some of the major advantages. Also, liquidity, which I think is the most important thing, especially given some of the recent recession type of environment we're moving into or are already in with the Corona crisis. Essentially, you want to have liquidity. Well, if your buyer who bought your property or your business, if he's running that, and by the way, if the values drop or his business drops, he can't either pay you on that. You have to foreclose and take it back, and then you'd have to try to resell it again to get more liquidity. That's what we call an illiquid asset, right? The lack of liquidity. Whereas the Deferred Sales Trust, one of the unique parts about it is you can put it into investment grade securities, and we call it trade plus 3. So you can have those funds liquidated and sent to you in cash within about 4 business days. So that is a distinct advantage of the Deferred Sales Trust, which can lower your risk and give you that liquidity just in case you need it. So those are all the reasons why we would strongly encourage you to consider the Deferred Sales Trust over a traditional installment sale. Of course, the choice is yours. Our goal and our role is to provide clarity for you and provide options, and then to see if the Deferred Sales Trust is a great fit for you and execute the strategy for you by creating a passive or active tax-deferred wealth plan. So there's an application link below. You can click on that, and you can, if you're interested or if you have a live deal or have a client who has a live deal, and we can walk through a few questions and jump on a conference call together and find out if the Deferred Sales Trust would be a good fit for you. So if you or anyone who's selling a high-end primary home, a business, commercial real estate, Bitcoin, or anything else that's highly appreciated, and you're looking for some tax deferral, you're looking for some liquidity, some diversification, and overall being able to get out of debt or wherever you're at or whatever asset you're in and go back in at optimal timing, which we think is the best way to create and preserve more wealth, then go ahead and click on that link below, and let's schedule a one-on-one consultation call, no cost to you, to walk through the strategy or answer any of your questions. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please rate, subscribe, and share with anybody who might be selling a highly appreciated asset. Thank you so much.